Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is Terry Roberts with DMAI, and we are so excited to start with a great webinar for April, for spring, as things are starting to get green. Today we are going to discuss your meeting's footprint, people, planet, and profit. And we look forward to hearing from our esteemed panel, as well as hopefully getting some questions and input from you. So one of the statistics we're going to share with you here in just a few moments is that 69% of convention centers reported that less than 20% of event organizers discuss greening processes during the initial planning. So I'd like to ask you to raise your hand on your GoToMeeting dashboard, if you will. How many of you who are with us today are currently discussing greening practices or asking about greening during the planning process? Or if you're joining us today and you're a CVB or a DMO, how many of your customers are asking you about greening initiatives during the planning process? So if we could just get a raise of hands for those of you who sort of have greening on your radar, if you will. And I'm going to ask Christine Shimasaki, who's kind of monitoring our question board today, to give us a sense of how many raised hands we have at this point.
We have, good morning everyone, and we have about 50%, if not a little bit more, of the group who has their hand raised that they're in the right place for this webinar.
All right, great. So you're either asking now and you're going to learn more to ask, or you haven't really put this on your radar, and by the time we finish, you will be well prepared to start asking some imperative questions and know exactly the right people to get in touch with. So speaking of people, I'd love to introduce to you our panelists. And first, I'd like to welcome Kara Hunter-Koppler. Hi, Kara. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning, everyone.
Kara is a director at Greenview, where she provides sustainability consulting and reporting services to event organizers. And she has some great clients like U.S. Greening Building Council, American Chemical Society, and Specialty Food Association, who have all been recognized for their sustainable event leadership in the industry. So she's a seasoned industry speaker and the outgoing president of the Green Meeting Council. So Kara, welcome, and thank you for contributing to our discussion today. And I'd like to also welcome our own Junior Taba'a, and Junior is the Senior Vice President of Sales Services at Anaheim Orange County BCB. And Junior, some of you may know Junior because he came to our great industry from MPI, Meeting Professionals International, the largest global meeting and event industry association, and also worked with the MPI Foundation. Junior has been in Anaheim since October of 2013, and he leads both sales services and the housing team in Anaheim to service the convention and meetings market in Anaheim. So welcome, Junior. Love to have you.
Thank you.
So we're going to begin with our roadmap today of really beginning by starting the conversation, talking about the importance of sustainability, the value that green meetings or reduced meetings footprint provide to both planners and attendees. And then we'd like to speak a little bit to the DMO, the CVB, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, or the Destination Marketing Organization in each destination, the role they have in really being able to communicate in a succinct way the sustainability initiatives in their communities. And then Kara, I know, wants to give us some industry examples and best practices. And then we'll call on Junior to sort of really give us an idea of sustainability in action as we look at a case study from Anaheim. It's really important to get on the same page in terms of what we mean by sustainability. And there's often a misconception that sustainability kind of equals eco-friendly and that's it. So I'd like to start by asking Kara, how should planners be approaching sustainability in the context of their overall work or planning?
Yes. So thank you, Terry. So as you said, there's often a focus within this industry and just in general about sustainability being simply about recycling or reducing the amount of water bottles that are used at your event. And the message that we want to share today is really that sustainability is a much broader topic than that. And so this People, Planet, Profit, the title of the webinar, is meant to emphasize that there is certainly an important component about economy. We want to have, very profitable and successful events, and that is very important. There's also economic benefits that occur at the destination level, bringing all of the attendees in, supporting that development and those jobs. In addition, we don't want to belittle the environmental impacts, but there is a lot of energy use and fuel use, water and waste generation certainly that occurs. And lastly, there's the people component, which is, about community. So perhaps there is a giving project that you're participating in for your event, or simply inclusion activities. You're offering scholarships or, students to come to your event to help grow themselves as professionals. So there's lots of ways that events particularly touch on society, on environment and economics. And you can see here in this Venn diagram that sustainability is achieved really in the balance of those three things. Also, you'll see on the screen some different names that really are the same thing as sustainability. So if you hear people talking about corporate responsibility, the triple bottom line, global citizenship, I just want you to know that all of those things are really referring to this same high, arching concept of sustainability.
That's great, Kara, to know that there are as many acronyms or names in the green world as there are in all of the hotel, CVB, and meetings related concepts as well. So next, Kara, what about if you could give me some examples of concepts. There's a lot of talk about sustainability, which can make it difficult for people to wrap their minds around what it means in practice. How is sustainability really brought to life at events?
Right. So that's absolutely right, Terry. We do a lot of talking, at a high level, and oftentimes I feel like planners are sitting there saying, okay, so what do you want me to do about it? I know that this is a problem. What does it look like? And so on the screen, Terry, as you advance through these images, these are representing some activities of what it might look like. So reporting on your events, efforts and results is definitely something that shows commitment and is an action that can be taken. Likewise, there's a lot of efforts around waste because that's a very visual component of meetings. So if you continue to advance, you'll see here there's a zero waste station that appears. And you can keep just kind of clicking through these things. Also, there's a lot of talk about carbon footprinting and offsetting. So whether it be tree planting or purchasing carbon offsets, that's something that a lot of folks do. Also engaging your attendees, just making them aware. Sometimes we forget when we're on site that we can still do the good practices that we do at home, and you can engage them. Local food is a way to provide people with a sense of place and also show them, provide them healthy options that are often, it's a more interesting story in what you're bringing to them. And then here we have some more waste images. Also the merchandise and items at your show, what you're putting your brand on. So, that sends a message to folks about your commitment and your sourcing. As well as much as our industry is trying to go very digital, there's always going to be a place for printing. And so showing that commitment to conserving resources and making responsible choices with your procurement is another way that sustainability can be seen on site, by your attendees and participants. And lastly here, this is the Specialty Food Association does a food recovery exercise after every show where they donate 150,000 pounds of food to the local communities in San Francisco and New York. And so again, that's something, an action that can be taken that is sustainability coming to life.
I think those are great images and great ways to really make the concept of sustainability come alive in an actionable way?
Yeah, and this just last image is just to show that, using your website and engaging people to participate, particularly your attendees, is not only what you're doing back of house, but really bringing them into your efforts as well and letting them participate and contribute.
So, Kara, that's a nice segue to sort of now having a better understanding of what sustainability is and maybe looks like from an actionable standpoint. But why is it important to event planners?
Right. So I think that it's important to just take a step back and say that sustainability in general is a very hot topic. And, we are event planners and suppliers and attendees, but at the end of the day, we're people and we're consumers, and people are concerned. So the population, this research is even a couple years old, so it's probably much greater, but 40% of the U.S. population is either really concerned or alarmed about climate change. And sometimes climate change is a big topic and can be sort of political, but I think we can extrapolate that to a lot of issues that we can all relate to in terms of our own personal health, the food we're putting into our bodies, the personal care products we're putting on our skin or our children's skin, carcinogens, clean water, and air pollution. These are all the topics that we see in the news every day. And so, it's your attendees are the population. And there is a new market in the U.S. called Lifestyles of Health and Sustainability, LOHAS. It's a $290 billion U.S. market, and approximately 17% of all adults fall into this category. And so this means that not all of your attendees are going to be, very, very concerned, but certainly there's a large percentage of them, and who doesn't want to cater to the needs of their members, so or clients or customers. So I think that in general, planners are in a position where they need to meet expectations, and those expectations are growing every day. I will also just note that it was very interesting to me that in the PCMA Convene magazine, they do an annual meetings market survey, and a comment that was made was that a planner said, my biggest challenge is making sure that my leadership understands that what I do is strategic, and I'm not just a logistics person. And I completely agree with that. And I think that sustainability is one of those things where corporations and organizations are putting a lot of emphasis into sustainability and making it a core value. Translating that to your event, which as the slide says is a very unique and powerful experience to showcase what you're about, is a role that a planner can play, and a very strategic role. So in incorporating sustainability, you are showcasing the sort of character of your organization, and there are benefits that come along with that. So you're aligning things with the brand and the experience on site. You're demonstrating leadership within that industry itself, and the MICE industry, of course. You're enhancing attendee experience. I mean, I think a lot of sustainability practices are ways to kind of just rethink and refresh the way that we do things. And I know that we're always looking for ways to, really enhance attendee experience. I mean, I hear this all the time. And then lastly, if you're making sustainability choices on a consecutive basis, you will see cost reduction over time.
And then, Kara, I don't think anybody on this call, unless they've been living under a rock, hasn't been hearing about Coachella, right, over the last couple of weeks. And so what happens, not specifically that event, but when there are big events that don't really think or point to greening, what happens when events are lagging?
Right. And it's not something that, it's just a risk. And at this point, as we said, because there are expectations and because we have social media and ways to snap pictures and say things and make comments these days, it's just something that, you want to be aware of, and you want to be a leader and you want to be associated with that instead of perhaps a lagging event that needs to catch up.
Great. So tell me then, Kara, what kinds of support really then are vendor partners providing planners, and how does this relate to a DMO? So if a planner says, this is a role I want to take in my meeting, I do want to be more strategic, I'm not just a logistics organizer, who helps?
Right. So I think that I would like to go through this. The good news is that there's lots of folks to help. And I think due to time sensitivity, I'm going to go through this very quickly, but to just give you an idea of all of the players in your supply chain and all of your event partners who are here to help you. And, you know, the first one we have here is hotels. Hotel brands are, you know, very committed to achieving certifications, and many of them have specific green meeting programs that they offer. Here, you know, we have Starwood, Marriott has a program, Hilton just announced a program a couple months ago. So you can tap into that where you don't have to recreate the wheel. Hotels already know that there's a need and they want to help you meet it. Next we have convention centers. So also, you know, another really, if you're holding your event at a convention center, this is sort of the main dish, and there's a lot of things that they can do in terms of the, you know, how they operate is going to affect your results. And so a lot of convention centers are reducing waste, have energy efficiency programs, etc. Caterers, likewise, are more and more open to offering menus. Unfortunately, I think that there's a gap between sometimes what is provided up front and what is provided in terms of response, and that doesn't go for just caterers, but anyone in the supply chain. The message here is that your suppliers can do more than you think they can. You just have to ask them. Transportation providers, this is an example. TMS is offering carbon neutral shuttles to one of their clients. And offering information on their website. You can take information from your suppliers' websites and really incorporate that into your event story because this is part of your team. Likewise, your vendor partners, whether it be AV or general service contractors, all of these folks have corporate initiatives and programs that they're doing, and it might not be across the board with every division and every location, but you have great relationships with your vendors. Go ahead and, you know, hold them accountable to what they're saying at a corporate level and see how you can work together. Also, of course, you know, your attendees are out eating. There are restaurant certifications. These are just a couple examples, because restaurants are really focused on this as well. And the message here is that all of these things that we just saw, whether it be hotels, convention centers, caterers, et cetera, they're all a part of your destination community. And so the DMO or CDB is in this very unique position to tell a unified event sustainability story for, you know, to planners, to you, and to your attendees. And so that's sort of the, you know, where this ties in. And just super quickly, because I know that we want to get to the to Junior in Anaheim, is, you know, some examples of this are, you know, providing transportation packages, for example. The DMO can also provide information on their website about sustainability attributes and certifications, whether it be of their convention center or in the next slide, the next two slides, Denver does a really great job of providing information about all of their hotel sustainability initiatives. So, you know, they work with their Department of Environment to survey everybody, and you can see here, you can go on and see all the certifications that every hotel has. So I hope that that provides a very quick, and I don't mean to rush this. Oh, lastly, I can't leave this out because we worked with a Green Destination Orlando to create the first destination sustainability report. And again, that is to tell the story of not a city as in the mayor's office and their sustainability office and everything they're doing that's great for the citizens, but what the visitor and the attendee can experience in a city. So I hope that gives you a flavor, and I want to pass it back over to you, Terry and Junior.
So Junior, let's turn to, you know, having you sort of tell through Anaheim's maybe case study, what, you know, how you've taken the approach there and what planners could expect from other destinations as well.
Sure. Thanks, Terry. Thanks, Kara. You know, what I want to talk about, I'll sort of try to frame this in terms of what sustainability is for Anaheim from a building or from a destination standpoint, and then I'll also talk about some of the things as Terry talked about, some of the case studies or some of the groups that, what are some of the things that some of the groups that are coming into Anaheim has done to sort of give back to the community. So for us, as Kara talked about, sustainability is more than, you know, about recycling or solar or LEEDs and all of those things. Those things, by the way, are very important, But for us, sustainability for us is really wrapped around, as Kara talked about, people in terms of maximizing our impact to our community and obviously the people that are coming in for conventions, profit in terms of obviously revenue, not just for the destination or economic impact for the destination, but also for the meeting planners that are coming in terms of their events and how they monetize their events. And then also the planet component of it, obviously trying to minimize our negative, the impact to the environment and to the planet. Those are sort of, as Kara talked about, those are sort of the guiding principle by which we look at our sustainability efforts. And as I talked about, and you see here, these are some of the examples that we've done in terms of what groups have done for us in our community to sort of to give back to our community. So NAM is one of our major groups that comes into Anaheim in the January timeframe. And what they did for us in terms of giving back to the community, and this is something that we work with in our team, to make it easier for organizations that come into our destination to sort of give back to our community. NAM did what they call a NAM Service Day, where they donated their time to help an elementary school here sort of activate a music program within the school, where 60 volunteers, board members of NAM staff, and also Anaheim city officials went to the school and really did a day of service to try to activate that school's, John Marshall Elementary School's music program. In addition to that, also NAM donated $10,000 in musical instruments to the school. And that's a great story for that organization, and in terms of what they've done to the community, and also obviously there's a whole economic impact that's part of that story. Another group that does something for our local community is Natural Products, where Natural Products had about 83,000 food that they donated to the local residents in terms of food bank. And that generated about 69,000 meals for the local community here in Anaheim. And again, like NAM, Natural Products has a huge economic impact to our local community. And so, as Kara talked about, these are just a couple of ways that groups for us contribute to our local community. In addition to what we're doing as a destination. So, and as our destination, as many other destinations, we're LEED certified. And one of the things that we just did is we dedicated in August of last year 2.4 megawatt solar panel system in Anaheim, which is covers about 300,000 square feet on the top of our exhibit halls. And this generates about 3.6 million kilowatts of electricity, which powers about 600 homes a year. And this is just another example of the things that we do to sort of give back to or sustainability examples for us. In addition to that, as Kara talked about, waste management is a huge piece that we look at, and about 70% of all waste generated on site at our convention center are recycled, and the other 30% goes to a landfill where we convert the methane and carbon dioxide into electricity to power those landfills, and also contribute back to our electrical grid system. Again, I can go on in terms of what we're doing from a destination standpoint, but ultimately what we want to do is make it easy for meeting planners, for organizations that are coming into the destination, to try to give back to the community. And this story is more than just obviously the economic impact to the destination, which sometimes it gets lost because of the size of numbers. I think from giving back to the community is a very sort of sticky story that resonates with with our community here in terms of how meetings and convention contribute to the local economy and to the local community.
Junior, I think you bring up such great examples of giving back, reducing your footprint, leaving any place that you visit better. And you gave examples of some really large groups that have huge impact on a destination like Anaheim or another destination that they would visit. But I think the message both from you and from Kara would include that you can really close the gap on sustainability regardless of the size of your meeting. A 10-person meeting can be more green, can be a contributor, or a 10,000-person meeting. So Kara has will make two things available to attendees today of our webinar, and one would be the 2014 Green View report. And then Kara's put together a really neat document, 10 questions to start asking your vendors, your CVB partners, your hoteliers, to really help you kickstart sustainability at any level for your meeting. So, Junior, I thought you did a great job of explaining really how CVBs are positioning themselves as destination consultants. That's what we always love to tell the story about, is that really there is someone to help you be more strategic as you move in that way for any size meeting in any destination that you visit. And if you are looking to find a CVB partner, you can go to empowerMINT.com. That is DMAI's website, where we will have aggregated destinations for you to be able to find who and what you're looking for quickly. So I know we've garnered some questions, Shimo, on our question board, so I do just want to remind everyone before we start to take those questions for Junior and Kara that you can receive your CMP credit today. This session was certified for Domain A Strategic Planning, and within the next 5 business days, you will get a link in your email, so make sure that you check your spam folder. You'll see a recording to the webinar. You'll see your CMP credit certificate, and then you'll also see that Green View report and the Kickstart sustainability questions for your use. So we really wanted to provide you, in addition to the great information that Kara and Junior shared, some actual tangible walkaways. So Shimo, any questions for Kara or Junior as we close?
Yes, I have a couple of questions that sort of relate to getting started, Kara, and I think that many planners might be in the middle of starting their process, but they're wondering about, is there a way that they can sort of take an assessment to help their own stakeholders sort of open up their eyes about how much their events impact the environment? It's sort of an obvious but yet not obvious. How would you recommend that they start, you know, that sort of assessment?
Okay. So I think first, you know, the 10 questions that Terry just said, I mean, that's one where those questions you'd be asking are things that you can say, are you doing this? But really the answers are you should be, and so how can we do this together is really the question. That's a really easy place to start. In terms of other assessments, you know, there are tools in the industry, and there are a lot of checklist type things. For example, there's the event greening standard referred to as APEX ASTM. That's something that most of the folks on the call, or some of you may have heard of. You know, this was an industry standard developed over years that identifies 9 categories of meetings, including things like food and beverage, transportation, venues, hotels, etc. And this provides, you know, guidance in terms of what those different vendors should be doing. Unfortunately, you have to purchase that standard to review it, and you can use it, one, in terms of, you know, to be compliant with it, but also just as a reference. There are also guides out there. I can provide this to Terry to include in the email as well, but it's an older guide, but I actually think that it's a very good start as a free resource. The UN put out in 2009 a green meeting guide that covers, I think, generally the approach, which is an ISO 2012, you know, in terms of an event management perspective, it shows you how to approach it, but then also very specific examples. And so I think that those are good places to start. I hope that I have answered that question. I think that it's a great question because it is where I think a lot of people get into a sticky spot, because you can get very overwhelmed very quickly when there's 100 things to do. And so what I really suggest is looking instead at your specific event and saying, what are the really big impacts that, because of the nature of our industry and our event, or the location we're holding it, and let's tackle that and make progress on something, and then you're going to catch momentum and you're going to see progress. And I think that that's, maybe perhaps there's a middle ground between those two approaches.
And I think that, thank you, Kara, that kind of leads into the next question that both you and Junior can probably address, and that is what are some of the, you spoke of actions that you could take, and I think the example of that was with the Snack Food Expo. They did a food recovery sort of program. This question is looking, or this planner is looking for, what are the other ideas for trade shows other than, maybe the food recovery and the typical recycling of cardboard, plastic, paper, etc. What other actions have you seen, both in Anaheim and Kara, that you've seen?
So I think, so I'll answer your question in two ways, Shima. I think two things. One is you look at, whether it's Anaheim or any other destination, ask those, those destinations or those hoteliers about their sort of sustainability efforts, from a building standpoint, from a electricity, solar, or power standpoint, and also from a waste management or even food standpoint. Because I suspect that probably 90% of every destination or 95% of every destination and hotel company has a sustainability plan, if you will. So those things you should be able to get. In terms of what you can do and in terms of your meeting in each destination or hotel, we talked about some of the organizations spending time at schools, donating times at school. Some of the easy things that some of the groups have done is bring in a box of pasta, and there's a food collection in the halls, and that food is donated to a local restaurant where they make those foods for kids in our local community. Planting trees are some of the things that we've done, or donating time at an animal shelter. So there's a lot of things, and I think every destination has those, and certainly Anaheim we've worked hard to get some of those things ready for our for meeting planners that are coming in with meetings for our destination, and part of what we're trying to do is ask those questions of meeting planners that are coming. What's important to them, and what do they want to be involved in when they're in our local community.
And, Junior, I think you're making a good point, because as we saw on the slides, and Kara, that I think this is a stat you captured, is that there's a very low percentage of planners who are even asking these kinds of questions, right? Right.
And I think part of what we're trying to do is, sort of prompt that question, or even asking that question, and not necessarily waiting for the planner to do it. And that's a training on our side, from a destination standpoint. And I know from talking to some of my colleagues in other destinations, that's something that they're all doing. So we're going to get better at it in terms of prompting that conversation. And if the planner is ready for it, we're ready for it to talk about things that they think they can do with their attendees, obviously.
Great. Anything to add on that, Kara?
I think that it really is a matter of creativity, and we all know that takes time and energy. And so it's maybe tapping into things that are already available to you. So, for example, I just saw something interesting a couple days ago, where the Westin Peachtree in Atlanta is a hotel that has been committed to sustainability and doing a lot of things on site. And what they decided to do was to offer a greening tour to meeting attendees. So it's, not everyone perhaps is going to be really interested in that, but a segment of your attendees get to, if it's go up on the roof, and I'm sort of just elaborating examples, not necessarily for the Westin Peachtree, but, there could be solar panels to see, or beehives, things that are happening, waste practices that are happening, if they're participating in the Clean the World program. So that attendees, people like to kind of get on the back dock sometimes and see what's really happening. It's an actually interesting experience for them. So that's something that already exists, and you could tap into it. Likewise, you could bring organizations in, and Junior gave some examples of this, but Clean the World is an organization that packs hotel soap and amenity kits and things for international distribution, but also hygiene kits here in the U.S. There's an organization called Stop Hunger Now, where I participated in an event a couple years ago where it was very high energy, fun, a networking opportunity, and in 1 hour, I think a couple hundred people packaged something like 30,000 meals or 40,000 meals. So you're making a real impact there. So those are just a couple extra, ideas.
Okay, excellent. And we'll take one last question for you, Kara. Do you have examples of organizations who have created a sustainability report from their meeting, and how do they go about that?
Right. So I think that there is a spectrum in terms of efforts and in terms of reporting. I think one particular report that I will admit, we work with the U.S. Green Building Council, as you know, so I'm partial to this, but they do a really excellent job each year of capturing not only what they did, but giving a lot of detail into how they did it. And so you can go to the usgbc.org, U.S. Green Building Council website, and if you search for it, or if you want to reach out to me, I'd be happy to direct you to a place where they have all of the archived reports and some case studies and things like that. There are also other leading organizers that are doing this. American Chemical Society, we work with them to do an annual report every year. In addition, the Green Meeting Industry Council, GMIC, I think it's gmicglobal.org. There should be, I believe, a directory that's open to the public of reports and resources that would include other organizations, perhaps. I know that Oracle is probably there. They have a really robust program. Microsoft does some very, in-depth reporting as well. So those are places that I would say to get a head start. Also, UFI just announced their Sustainable Development Award yesterday, and so if you go to the UFI website and look at their annual Sustainable Development Awards, you can see who the winners and honorable mentions were and kind of look through those materials and see what they're up to as well.
Well, thank you, Kara. I think that you've given folks plenty of resources for them to kind of go and inquire to. So I'm going to turn this back over to Terry.
Thank you, Shimo. I was just sitting here kind of listening to both Junior and Kara saying, sometimes on a webinar we'll get a little hit, if you will, people saying, there were a lot of generalities and I really wanted more specifics. Well, if you wanted more specifics today, I think you really tuned in to the right discussion, because I really think both Kara and Junior did such a great job of providing so many examples and spurring some creativity. Kara, so thank you, you both and Junior. And I'll just leave this last slide with Kara's direct information if any of you are interested in following up, directly connecting with Kara to get more specifics about greening initiatives for your particular organization. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. It's our pleasure, and we hope that you will check in often to join us for future webinars.